Good evening all, and thanks for logging in the call. We are pleased to host Mr. Pramod Agrawal, the Chairman and Managing Director of Coal India, for an investor call post the Q2 FY22 earnings and to discuss his views on the coal sector. Along with him, we have Mr. S.N. Tiwari, Director Marketing, Mr. Samiran Datta, Director Finance, and Mr. Viswanathan, the Company Secretary. Now I hand over the call to Mr. Agrawal for his opening remarks, which will be followed by a Q&A. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kamlesh, for arranging this con call. I'm really thankful to everybody for participating in this. We have uploaded our latest figures, etc., on the site in the form of presentation. I hope everybody would have gone through it. So I think there is nothing further for me to add. I'll rather go for the question and answer session, and in that I will explain whatever points that you will expect me to explain. Thank you. Let's start with the question and answer.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question from the line of Amit Dixit from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity, sir. I have a couple of questions. The first question is on the grade mix that we had for FSA in Q2, and how does it compare to Q1?
Grade mix, what do you mean by grade mix? Means average grade for the Q1 and Q2? Are you asking that question?
Yes, sir. That would help.
G11. Generally, it is G11, and it was in G11 even in Q1 also. There has not been any change in the grade mix.
Sure. Why I'm asking, because there was no change in the FSA realization actually went down slightly in Q2. So I just thought it might be due to some grade change and all. That's it.
It may be because there is a more supply to power sector, and as you know that for power sector we charge 20% less price. Whatever extra we have supplied mostly has gone to power sector, and that's why the average realization would have gone down compared to the last thing from FSA.
Okay, sir. The second question is on e-auction. In terms of e-auction volume, what is the likely volume to be offered in Q3 and premium achieved thus far? And what would be the likely volume you would offer in Q4?
In this year, last year we had auction, means the firm figure was about 50 million tons that was given in the last 2 quarters, and I hope that we will be giving almost the same quantity of coal. Means offering this will be less because this last time the materialization during the auction was less, but this time materialization is very high. So slightly more amount will be slightly more quantity will be offered, but then I think we will be able to sell off about 40 to 50 million ton in this e-auction this year. But that will depend how the coal situation in the thermal power stations are. If the power demand increases tremendously and we have to face that situation, then perhaps this figure we will have to reduce.
And what is the premium achieved, sir, so far in 2 months or
in this we are achieving almost 45 to 50%. In the last quarter, it might have been slightly higher. On the average, in this year we have achieved 45 to 50%. But today the question of premium is not there. It is a question of supply. Whatever we offer, the premiums are very high.
Okay, sir. The point of asking the question was that in October and November, particularly in October, we get to hear that the supply in e-auction was very less. So is it possible to quantify the supply until now? Until November 20 or something?
I won't be able to compare October to October or November to November, but then overall till October end, our supply has been 3 million ton extra than what it was last year. See, there are two things. In October, the supply for this e-auction would have been less because of the power crisis in the country and the stocks were going down in the powerhouses. We had to give extra supply to powerhouses. Actually, in October, we supplied almost 56 million ton to powerhouses, which was about 4 to 5 million ton more than the last year. Then the second thing that happened that in initial week of the October, and there was heavy rainfall, and because of that, and even during another week there was heavy rainfall, because of this dispatches were late. But the fact remains that our supplies were much higher than last year. But most of the increased supply, or even otherwise, the supply went to powerhouses because there it was an urgent situation where we were required to increase the stocks in powerhouses.
Okay, that is helpful, sir. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Varanikar Vijay Kumar from Spark Capital. Please go ahead. Mr. Vijay Kumar, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with the question.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Can you give a color of the special forward e-auction for power, the number in the overall e-auction sales in, say, FY21, and how it will be for FY22, given we have stopped the e-auction sales through other modes?
We have not stopped e-auction to other modes. We had reduced during October. Actually, this year, till now, we have auctioned about 100, total quantity booked is 70 million ton, which is almost of the same type which was done till this during the last year, till this period, during this period last year also. So we have not stopped it, but the extra supplies that we were done, about 59 million ton or 56 million ton of extra coal that was supplied, it has gone mainly to powerhouses. That is the point I was trying to make. It is not that we have reduced the supplies to NRS. Expectations from all the sectors from Coal India have increased tremendously because of the increased price, and hence there is this. But that fact remains that during October, definitely supplies to this e-auction thing has reduced. Special forward, we have got almost special 34 to 35% extra premium. Means premium was 35% till now, average premium. And last year the premium was hardly anything. I don't have that figure, but then last year it was hardly 7 or 8%.
So, do we expect the e-auction sales in FY22 to be similar to last year's number of, say, 95 million tons?
Booking definitely. 100 and kitna tha last year? 120. Last year the total booking was 120 million ton. We will try to achieve that figure, but giving any firm commitment at this point of time will be difficult because I don't know how the power demand is going to pan out. The expectations from power sectors are very high. If their expectations prove to be right, then perhaps this figure will get reduced.
Sir, I understand this 124, is it booking, right? So I'm talking about the sales. Actual sales was around 94 million tons. If I'm not wrong. 94
million tons. So sell will be in the, again the same things remain. If we don't do booking, there will not be any sale. So it will depend largely. We are trying to achieve that figure of 90.
Okay. And coming to our FY21 numbers, so what was the overall sales to the power sector, sir, of the dispatches we did?
To October 291. To October.
Of the 573 of dispatch, what would it be for power sector? Because the numbers given doesn't include the e-auction number specifically for power sector. It would be great if you can give overall for power sector through linkage and through e-auction, how much was it in FY21?
I'll tell you that the marketing is there. He will give you the figure.
Current financial year till October 21, 291.72. The comparing figure with the previous year, it was 237.75. The growth is 23%.
So, last year total.
Okay, understood. My final question, you mentioned that the drop in realization in the second quarter in linkage was due to higher supply to power sector because we charge lower. So I missed that percentage. How much we charge lower for power?
It is about 20%.
Yes.
Price difference 20%. There is a power difference, price difference of 20%.
So may I know why for power sector alone it is lower?
It was fixed long back, and it was based on the... Yeah, please, Director Marketing will explain.
Gentlemen, basically, power end prices are controlled by so many other things like PPA, government regulations, where they have to exercise that caution of not charging or overcharging. Whereas for a product like, say, aluminum or cement, they have their end prices are not controlled by anything. They can charge as per their market scenario. So for them, since they are market-driven prices for their end product, so we do charge 20% more. But for power, since it is PPA-driven prices, and government also does take care that the prices of power which is to be utilized by common people or industry does not go on a very high note. It is like controlled.
Okay, I have further questions. I'll come back in the queue, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Vishal Chandak from Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So my question pertains to your CAPEX program. So if you could just highlight, where are we in terms of CAPEX with respect to the fertilizer plant, and obviously on the target of 1 billion ton of coal mining, you had said that you would be spending about 40,000-50,000 crores over a span of next 4 to 5 years, rather 3 to 4 years. So where are we in that regard, sir, in terms of ordering of equipment, etc.?
See, ordering of equipment, etc., I think most of the equipment, this is a continuous process, but most of the equipment, there was a lack or there was a shortage of equipments. We have placed the order like dragline, we placed the order for 6 draglines, we have placed order for the 240-ton dumpers, shovels, etc. It's a continuous process, but whatever was shortage have been placed, and we have started receiving the equipment. This year we had planned to invest about 17,000 crore rupees, and last year we spent something like 13,500 crore rupees. This year till this time we have spent something like 7,000 crore rupees, and I am quite hopeful that if we not we will be achieving our target in this. And most of this money, except for a small component which gives for fertilizer plants of Talcher and all those 3 fertilizer plants which were already committed, rest of the money is being spent completely on coal or coal evacuation structures. And what we had planned that in next 3-4 years we will be spending more than 40,000-50,000 crore rupees. We are completely on course. Most of the projects that were likely to take off have been signed, and the works have started, except for few exceptions where the contracts are failed, like in Konar, where we have gone for retendering. For railway projects also, it is being now monitored by the railway minister himself, and so I am quite hopeful all these projects will completed well within the time limit that we have set.
Sure, that's very helpful. Sir, in light of the CAPEX program that we've already announced and we are working on it, so how soon can we be ready for this 1 billion ton target?
Now earlier we were planning for 23 to 24, but that seems to be completely unreasonable. We are targeting for 24 to 25. But it will depend largely on how the demand scenario pans out. We cannot produce coal and keep it. So last year we produced 576, but we ended the year with a stock of 100 million ton. This year we are thinking that we will be producing something in range of 640 million ton. let's see what is the stock position. If the stock position is not good, definitely the next year the production will increase. But 1 billion ton we are targeting for 24-25, depending on the demand in the country.
Sure. So just one last question. In the run-up to the steep hike in the international coal prices, there was a huge opportunity for us to replace the imported coal. So how much of imports have we been able to replace on a YTD basis and in this quarter as well, sir?
There are three types of coal we must understand. One is non-coking coal. That we are not targeting to replace, and we cannot replace because that type of coal we don't have. Then second type of coal is very high-grade coal like cement industry uses, even the pet coke and high GCV value, anthracite, etc. That we again don't have. But lower type of coal means G9 to G11, 13 type, we have been able to replace almost 50%, I am told. About 45% have reduced in the last, compared to last year. Last year again it was a loss, last year also the import was less compared to the year before, but this year we have reduced substantially. 40%. Secondly, what has happened because of the high price of the coal in the international market, the power plants located on the coastal areas, which are based on very high GCV coals, they have reduced their production of energy substantially. That too we are supplying from our coal, and the domestic coal-based power plants are now generating that energy to fulfill the gap. So to that extent also, something has been replaced.
I think in one of the earlier quarters you had mentioned that the addressable market for import substitution is close to about 100 million tons.
That's right.
Right. And no, I completely agree. So I just wanted to understand on a structural basis how much of that market we have captured. As in a price arbitrage is one factor. Tomorrow if the international prices go down, then definitely these people will again switch to imports. But on a structural basis, have we been able to move from more towards import substitution?
See, when I say 100 million ton, that is equivalent to almost 70 to 80 million ton of imported coal. Because 100 million ton of our coal is slightly inferior to us. We have been able to supply about 60 to 70 million ton extra coal this year to replace that. But exact figure, I will request Vishwanathan Sahab to give it to you separately, because I don't have those exact figure right now.
Right. Thank you very much, sir, and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pinakin from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Sir, I have three questions. First, just to get the e-auction issue clarified. So the first half e-auction coal sales were 57 million tons. Last year was 94 million tons, and you basically highlighted full year around 90 million tons, which would imply that the second half e-auction coal sales are around 50 million tons versus 57 in the first. Is that understanding correct?
Yeah, you are understood completely right. If it is 57 million ton, I don't have that figure, but if you are saying that must be the figure, 57 million ton coal supply has taken place, so 33 million ton. I am saying that provided, but I had put one caveat that the power sector should not increase their demand tremendously again, as they did it during the October month.
Okay, sir. Now just complete the e-auction loop. So in the first quarter and second quarter, average e-auction realization premium to FSA realization premium was 13% and 15% respectively. And this per you right now stands at over 50%, right? Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's right. More or less.
Understood. So my second question relates to cost. Now, diesel prices have come off very sharply, and historically, there used to be a relationship between diesel and the consumables and other costs. So, what would the recent diesel price decline translate in terms of cost impact on coal, and whether we will see this deflation being offset by either higher employee costs or some other cost?
This question I'll request Director of Finance to answer, because there is some linkage between increase in price of there are some linkage between increase in price of diesel and increase in cost. So that will apply while deflation takes place. So it will explain that.
Yeah. In fact, Pinakin, as we had earlier also given many a times a sort of guidance that what is the impact based on the total absolute usage of diesel. Both in the contractual and as well as my departmental together. So this time by 18 rupees gradual increase over Q2 to Q2, we had a hit of around 600 crore. And going by that 130 crore liters of consumption, it is for a rupee, the thumb rule was, which stands till now, around 130 crore is impacted.
So 130 crore impacts are per quarter or per month? Per year. Understood. And so my last question relates to FSA coal price hike. You were earlier confident of getting a FSA coal price hike early on, but that seems to have meandered away. How do you see, sir, potential hikes on FSA coal?
See, I am quite hopeful that it should happen soon. In October, because of the crisis, everybody was shaky. But let me add to one point that coal price increase is not something where we have to bring all the stakeholders on board. That process is on, and everybody understands that we have reached to a point where the coal price increase has become inevitable. I am quite sure that it should come very soon, but when will it come? It's very difficult for me to say. It's not something that we have left it.
Understood. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Rahul Modi from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you for your time for the call, sir. I really appreciate. Sir, very brief couple of questions. Sir, firstly, on the wage negotiation, sir, I believe we've started making some provisions. So if you can help on that account as to what is the kind of cost increases that you are envisaging, and for that we are providing on a quarterly basis or an annual basis.
Yeah, Rahul, I will also take this question. I'm Samiran Datta. The question that you have asked is the impact or the provisioning that we are currently making. In this quarter, we have made a provision of around 300 crore. You will appreciate that it is still a somewhat ad hoc provision, because unless and until there is some headway into the negotiations, which are in very nascent stage, it is very difficult to understand the impact or going forward how much we will be finally taking. And in any case, unless and until the final NCWA agreement takes place, there are certain things which we cannot in fact provide, which can be provided or liability only booked when only that gets finalized, like the actuarial valuation part of it, which also accounts for almost say 25 to 30% of the wage settlement. Now, coming to this, as I have mentioned that we have already taken 300 crore rupees. This is in the backdrop that almost 75,000 packs personnel has already gone down from the last NCWA. Going by the other organizations also, the trend that is taking place, the DA increase is also less. So the impacts are no way similar to what had been in earlier cases. So keeping all these things in mind, we have provided already 300 crore in this quarter.
Okay, sir, any number that you think of which is, can be anywhere between taking 300 crore ad hoc, I believe that will be 1,200, but anything, you believe you can contain it within 2,000 crores or 1,500 crores, anything like that? Any thought?
As I mentioned, actuarial valuation is one area where it is very difficult to, in fact, pre-calculate or how much will be the other effects that has got other effects. And because it's a very high manpower-based company, the actual valuation plays the spoil sport in that respect, rather than the actual quantum or the minimum guaranteed benefits that we call. What we are providing as of now is on an understanding of what the minimum guaranteed benefits can accrue or at this stage can be envisaged. So that's how we are looking into it. So giving a firm number will be difficult.
Sure. Thank you. Sir, can you throw some light on it? What is the daily, on an average, what is the daily offtake that we are currently seeing And what percentage of that is going in for power sector and the balance for non-power?
It is about 1.9 million ton is what we are dispatching now, almost on the average this month. Last year, in the last week, was slightly higher. And out of that 1.65 type is going to power.
So is this better than what we were doing in Q1 and Q2 in terms of non-power?
Non-power is about 3 lakh. Actually, I will explain. On the average, 1.9 lakh has gone in this month for total in this, but the average to power is 1.6. Whenever it goes to 1.965, 1.97 type, then the power goes right up to 1.65, 1.66. So about 3 lakh is going to non-power sector on the average. If any increase in coal dispatch generally goes to power. And I think in Q2, we were dispatching almost same or slightly less than this to the non-power sector. It was 2.5 lakh per day. Now we are doing about 3 lakh.
Okay. This is helpful. But again, harping on the same point, which previous participants said, that we are bearing the brunt of cost increase in a significant way, whether it is diesel or, wage cost. While the other people in the energy value chain are able to pass on costs, it's becoming difficult for us. Any kind of price hike will be, big relief for, the investors as a whole. So just to continue that point, sir, how is the debtors position? Is that stabilized or is it again building up? How do you see it qualitatively?
The our position you are saying or what?
The debtor position.
Overall, debtor position is actually receivables are decreasing.
Yeah, receivables are decreasing, and you will have to keep in mind this is on elevated sales amount also. So as a percentage of sales, it has significantly gone down.
Debtor days is fine, is comfortable.
Yeah, it has gone down to around 12,000 crore net of provisions that we make for some great slippage and all. So if you are looking at the balance sheet level figures, so 19,000 odd crore rupees were there at the end of the March or at the beginning of the financial year, which has now gone down to 12,000 odd crore rupees. So almost 7,000 crore rupees of decline over 90,000.
Okay. So last question from my side, I'll get back in the queue. Is on the capex on the non-coal related activities, for example, aluminium, and if you can throw some light that are we looking to do any major capex from our side, or it'll just be a developmental small token which we would like to do?
As of now, nothing has been spent on all these things except for the solar power generation thing we have procured not procured in the sense that we have won in this auction, a tender in Gujarat, which is 100 megawatts. For that, we are investing something. Secondly, we are investing, which was already taken decision on TFL and HURL. Besides that, we have not spent even a single paisa anywhere else except for preparing the fund. Whenever we go, we see the viability of the project, and anything related to mining is easily doable by Coal India. Beyond that, it will be a very cautious move and with the help of partners only.
Okay. And so lastly, about the solar manufacturing, panel module manufacturing, which we had participated in the PLI. Any progress on the same, and any technology partners you're looking at?
We had issued RFQ. We are issuing the RFP. And if we get the response, then only we will think of participating. But again, as I mentioned, in that our partnership will be a minority partnership. It will not be majority partnership. So it will be helping something getting into the country rather than actually running the factory.
Okay, sir. Thank you and all the best. I'll be back in the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prashant K.P. Kota from Dolat Capital. Please go ahead.
Sir, good evening and thanks for the opportunity. Sir, I have two questions. The first one is on the export. Sir, is there a potential to do any exports from India for a company like Coal India? And this I asked last year also, but now it's maybe a little bit more relevant given the higher international price. Is there some opportunity that we can tap into?
There is an opportunity only to the market which are located nearby like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, etc. Otherwise, the general market trend and the quality of the coal in India, in that situation, it becomes very difficult to go beyond Bangladesh or India.
Okay, sir. Understood. Sir, and my second question is more of a structural question. Sir, if you see the incremental ROC that the company makes is negative. That is, if you are generating 25,000-30,000 crores of EBITDA, you are spending 12,000 crores of EBITDA, or 12,000 crores on capex, 12 or 10 or 9,000 crores each year, and then that's not adding to incremental EBITDA. So we are doing a large capex, and out of that we are producing some volumes, incremental volume, and large part of that is going to power sector at very low, at significantly low prices. Hence, the significant capex that we are doing each year, significant is very large capex as a percentage of EBITDA, is not adding to EBITDA. Hence, incremental ROC is negative. Hence, over the last 10 years, this is a decline in stock price. Yes, there is dividends paid out. Adjusted for that also, we have not done great. Sir, and in the past, you have indicated that when you decide on FSA price hike, etc., the broad thumb rule you have is to maintain 30% EBITDA margin. Sir, when you are just my one request or wanted to know your thought process while doing this EBITDA margin 30% calculation, please reduce 7,000-8,000 crores further from the EBITDA, because that is going to capex and that's not yielding incremental profits. So, assuming that EBITDA is not 30,000 crores, at just 22,000 crores right now, and based on that, please, if you could set the FSA prices, new FSA prices. Otherwise, we continue to be incremental ROC negative, sir, on incremental capital that we are deploying. Just wanted to know your thoughts on and how do you think about this?
See, if you see the Coal India's expenditure on capex, except for the last year, it has been in the range of 6,000 to 7,000. For such a large company, that 6,000 to 7,000 is actually a very low investment. Last year we invested something like 13,000, and this year we are expecting something like 17,000 crores. This capex, getting the same amount of ROC without increasing the price is something not possible, because our capex is not something like additional capacity generation, in the sense that it's not a factory where if you do an additional capex, that means you generate another line for production. It is continuous. Our capex is to get the land and to rehabilitate the people continuously, and to even to maintain the same level of production, we need a huge investment. And whatever we were doing till now was to that only, and without investing substantially on evacuation and production. This is for the first time that last year we tried to increase investment in production as well as and evacuation, like we have taken FMC projects, and then rail lines also we are trying to complete, like Dhananjay Ghargoda Kharsia line has been, Dharamjai Kharsia line has been completed to large extent. We are trying to double the Sardega Jharsuguda line. All these things we are taking up, and FMC projects we have taken up very seriously. Unless we do these investments, even maintaining the EBITDA will not be possible, and the coal production will go down. So even in coal industry, even to maintain a certain level of production, you have to keep on doing extra investments. That should be understood.
Sure, but just to follow up on this, completely agree with you and appreciate the actual on-the-ground issues that you have raised. Then the limited point we're trying to make is many large investors also have been patient since several years. Is that they set the coal FSA coal prices higher, taking into account this dynamic that the capex is incremental capex is required to even maintain the current level of production. So what you're saying is
I completely agree with you. While fixing the
coal prices,
while fixing the FSA prices means I will definitely try to fix it, keeping all these things in mind. We would like to have a good, because for the last 4 to 5 years we have not increased the price, and we have reached to a level which I'm telling them that it is not even commercially viable to do the production. So everybody has understood that, but then it is taking a while. I'm quite sure that the proper decision will be taken soon.
Understood. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Noel from Ashtika Group. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yes, sir. Actually, sir, I just wanted to get a small idea. So, in presentation it is mentioned that that there are some rail links which are being commissioned at the end of FY 22, 23, and 24, 3 separate projects. So, I just wanted to get an idea what kind of cost benefits we can see in the FY 23 and onwards, as in on a project-wise basis. Can we get that breakdown?
Whether we get the break-even in these projects or not, that is not very critical. I won't be able to say right now, because I will have to identify which are the projects which are like. I will try to answer this question differently. Tori-Shivpur line, if it is doubled and whenever it is completed, we will get a huge break-even. And right from the day one, there is no shortage of coal, and actually many new mines of private sector are also coming. So there will be a huge offtake from that area, and there will not be any problems. Okay. Similarly, Sardega-Jharsuguda line. Again, there is even our Siarmal is coming on that line. If that line, Barpali Bulb, if this project is completed and production from those mines start, then there will not be any problem of getting break-even, because whatever, not only we are getting in 2 ways. First thing is whatever the railways give me one source of revenue, and secondly, it helps me in increasing the production also. Suppose the mine of Kulda, Garjan Bahal. Garjan Bahal today is producing something like 25 to 26 million ton, and we are projecting that in another 2 to 3 years it will start producing something like 40 million ton. And in that same vicinity, Siarmal is there, which is expected to produce 40 million ton. If these 2 mines have to produce, and if this coal has to be evacuated, then without that line we cannot do it. So finding the break-even of line alone, although that line will give me break-even right from the first year, if I get this type of traffic, but finding that break-even will not be very right way of looking at it, because without that line I cannot produce coal, and all that investment we are doing in mines will go waste. So the viability of the project should be seen in a more comprehensive and composite way. Means mine plus line, both investment, we should see whether we are getting some yield or not. That should be the right way, because we cannot transport that much of coal through road. That's an impossibility.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity on that particular point. Yes. Apart from that, then I just wanted to get an idea. So right now, what is our? I didn't exactly hear this. So what exactly is our production aim for FY 22 and 23?
22-23, we are thinking of something like 700 to 710 million ton, depending on the demand scenario.
Okay. This is for the current financial year. Sorry, this is next financial year, right?
This is for next financial year.
Okay, fine. Nice. Yes, and just to confirm, so this current financial year, we are aiming for e-auction sales to be roughly flat year on year, right, compared to FY 20?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pulkit Patni from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
So thank you for taking my question. So you mentioned about the effort that we put in terms of taking FSA realizations higher. Now, just keeping in context with what's happening in the power sector right now, with the power companies still not getting paid for their dues, Do you really see that we have an opportunity to take any meaningful price increase in FSA, and how realistic is it for us to be able to do so? And would it be fair to assume that the price increase in FSA market would be good enough to make sure that whatever wage bill increase, etc., we see increase in contractual labor costs, etc., it's good enough just to match that? Or do you think this is going to likely contribute to higher EBITDA margins? Those would be my questions.
What will happen, I am not very sure of that. But my this is that in last 4 years we have not increased the price. So whatever price we are going to increase should definitely be adequate to give me right EBITDA that this sector expects. Increase in contractual labor, contractual price, etc. There have been there, but with the decrease in this diesel price, perhaps that will not go as high as I was expecting in the about a month back or so. Similarly, labor cost this year is not likely to, labor cost increase is not likely to be very high because in general, except for few provisionings that we have had to make because of certain reasons, otherwise cost of labor has remained constant last year also, and this year also it has remained almost constant because of the high rate of retirement, attrition, etc., mainly retirement. And because of that, the labor cost is not increasing. But you are right, with the wage negotiation, the prices, the cost will increase, and increase in other factors like general increase in the market prices, general inflation, etc. That is affecting our margin. But whatever increase we are looking at is definitely much higher than compensating this increases.
Understood, sir. That's helpful.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Amit Bhatt from MIT Engineers. Please go ahead.
Can you please quantify overdue outstanding from DISCOM till date, sir?
DISCOMs, we don't have overdue. We generally supply to only GENCOs.
GENCO, yeah.
GENCOs, the receivables is about, net receivable is about 12,000 crore right now. At the end of October, I don't know what is at this point of time, but at the end of October it was 12,000 crore.
And sir, is there any concern regarding increase in the outstanding again because of the emergency-like situation? Because you have to supply and even if they're not paid.
One must understand why the receivables increased. It increased during the pandemic because electricity was being supplied, but they were not getting paid at all. The receivables at the hand of DISCOM, means the amount that DISCOMs were receiving from general, except for industry sector, which also was switched off, rest of the sector was, it was just nothing compared to what they used to come. Because of that, it increased, and after first or second quarter, we tried to control it, and from this year, first quarter onward, we have been trying to control the receivables from this GENCO, and we have reduced it to 12,000. If something like pandemic again happens and everything is shut down, one cannot say, but because there is shortage of coal or shortage of something, this receivables will not increase because we use this as an opportunity also to get money because there is demand from many people. Then we say that we will give coal only on priority to that person who is paying us upfront. So that has helped us to reduce the price, to reduce the receivables, and in future it will go down further.
Sir, you have done a great job by recovering those overdues in last quarter. But sir, now as you explained that we can take advantage of the situation in this one particular manner, that we can recover faster. So can you please give us a guidance that when we are going to get the reasonable amount of outstanding at the end of the year?
It will be very difficult for me to give the timeline, but in general now we are following a policy in which we say that whatever money you are giving, 1/3 will be adjusted against the past receivables and 2/3 will be supply. For 2/3 the coal will be supplied. So that has helped. It is very difficult to enforce it at every level and to each customer, but then this is the general policy, and this has helped us in reducing the receivables significantly.
And sir, this outstanding can affect the capex or a dividend?
Oh, no. We have got still the liquidity of about 27,000 crore rupees.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
30,000 crore rupees.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Varanikar Vijayakumar from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks once again. Sir, can you give what is our expectation of dispatches for entire FY22?
I think it should be in the range of 670 to 680 million tons.
Okay. And for FY23?
It will be very difficult, but if the demand is there, we should reach something like 700 type. But then it will depend on production next year, because this year we had an advantage of having huge stocks. But next year that will not be there.
Okay. And there is, some news floating that the FSA linkage price can be hiked by 10%. So is there any such number we have in mind?
Everybody is free to guess something, presume something. It has not been finalized as yet.
Right. And regarding the wage negotiation, so it would be primarily for the non-executive cadre, if I'm not wrong, correct?
Yeah, it will be non-executive cadre, but it will affect the contractual labor also, because contractual labor, this daily wages are dependent on the minimum of what we give to our labor. So it will affect there also.
Okay, because the last big hike in the wage costs happened in FY18, if I'm not wrong. So provisioning there was a big number, close to 10,000 crores. So any number we can expect in FY22 or 23 in terms of how much can the employee costs go up?
Very difficult to say to give any number.
But I would like to add one thing only in this regard. Without going to numbers, you see in the FY18 that you mentioned, that has had a double effect of increasing gratuity to 20 lakhs also. And that was a massive one. Almost 50% of the entire effect was due to gratuity. In fact, more than that, for including all actuarial valuations. So this time around, there is no such expectation.
Sure. And you mentioned we consume about 130 crore liters of diesel per year, correct?
This is what the Dr. Finance
Yes.
Okay. I think those were my questions. All the best, sir. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Dixit from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question again, sir. On receivable front, while if you go subsidiary wise, you will see that NCL are better off, while if you look at ECL and BCCL particularly, their receivables are pretty stagnant. So just wanted to get an idea of where these receivables are stuck and whether we would be able to reduce receivables of these subsidiaries as well. And will Coal India go to the the historical number that we used to have by end of the year of around 8,000 crores or by end of this financial year?
You see, Amit, answering your question, I think you must have seen some old figures. As far as even those subsidiaries that you mentioned, ECL and BCCL, particularly BCCL had run up to almost 3,800 crore rupees at one point of time in the last financial year. And that has now got reduced almost to half, less than even half. So the liquidation is taking place, but you will have to also appreciate that the customers who are there for BCCL and ECL, there are certain customers who had been paying less in the past, but now that they have also increased their dilution, so this is going to go down further, and it has gone down heavily in BCCL and ECL also. There is no such stagnation. Maybe some rate difference is there of liquidation.
Okay, that's very heartening. The second question is on, expected dividends, since we have already, there is a board meeting planned for the first interim dividend. And given that FY21 was a challenging year, but still, kudos to you that you gave dividend which was higher compared to FY20. And this year we have seen significant cash accretion. Our cash balance is possibly one of the highest that I have seen in last 7 quarters. So can investors expect dividend for the year to be higher than FY21?
Without forecasting, I would only like what you have mentioned already, that the receivables have gone down, the cash position has been better, although H1 to H1 basis, the profits have been flat, Q2 is flat, and H1 basis, it has been slightly lower. So, and this is only the interim one. So, we will be discussing that in the board meeting. So, this is the, so we'll discuss this in the board and we'll definitely see, but one of the two constraints that we have in deciding what should be the distribution is the profits per se in those subsidiaries which pay dividend. That has been, this is not on the overall Coal India basis. Number two is also the cash position. Now cash position, as you have already mentioned, that has bettered, and profits are also being maintained by those major subsidiaries. So let's see how much comes at the discussion.
Great, that's helpful. The third question, if I can squeeze one more, is the database question. What was the overburden removal in this quarter, and what was the of course overburden ratio I will calculate. If you can give me the overburden removal.
Overburden removal during this quarter, you mean? This quarter was 271.03 million cubic meter in the last quarter.
Yeah, great, sir. That is very helpful. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Gokul, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. So my first question is on the quality of the different types of coal. So is it because India is lacking the quality coal throughout the country, or is it because we haven't been able to explore, or is it due to lack of viability of the mines?
In general, Indian coal is of poor quality except in few pockets like in ECL and in the CIC field of SCCL. Our coal quality is poor. It's not that we are not exploring it or we are looking at viability issue will have to be seen. If it is a very deep-seated coal, then perhaps it will not be viable to take it out. But in general, the Indian coal quality is poor. And it is not that we are unable to exploit it just because of any other factor.
Oh, okay, thank you. And also, is it possible to expand the exploration to other minerals in the lands you already have, or is it also not viable to consider other opportunities in other minerals?
We have been thinking about finding some other minerals in this area, but where the coal seams are there, we have not found any other mineral which is which can be very usefully extracted. But this is a question which I don't have much of clarity. I have not come across any other mineral which can be extracted from this area.
Bauxite is there in Jharkhand nearby,
but bauxite mines are different mines. That is a completely different area. Coal like bauxite mines are there in Odisha as well. Those Odisha mines are very good bauxite mines, but those are in a completely different area from our areas of operation.
Mineral seams are not there.
Multi-mineral seams are not there to my knowledge.
Okay, and finally also regarding the non-coal sector. So from last con call, we have been saying that we have incorporated the subsidies and subsidiaries, but we lack the aggressiveness in pursuing this. So is it because we don't want to spend too much capital, or is it the intention of the management is not to follow the non-subsidiary, the other sectors very aggressively? Is it like looking at the long term, because there's a lot of opportunities and we do have a lot of cash? If we can decrease the dividend policy a bit, and instead of paying out lots of dividends, we could use the capital more wisely into other sectors. So what could be your thoughts on that?
See, the thing is, for coal, the solar power solar power generation, we are looking very aggressively, but because of certain reasons, we could not succeed in many of these auctions that we participated, mainly maybe because we were slightly conservative or maybe because we were not very sure of the policies that have developed in the last 2-3 quarters. So, but we have been bidding for almost everywhere, but we have not succeeded. Perhaps we need to be slightly aggressive in that. In PLI scheme, we did participate. Now it seems that we will get PLI, but right from the very beginning we were saying that this is not the area in which CIL is looking for a majority partnership, and we are looking just for minority partnership, and we are in search of the partner. We hope that we will get, and then it will take a while before getting it. But CIL tried to enter that field only when not many people were eager. Now, since many people are eager to participate, I don't know how much viability will come, and then we'll see how to go further. Aluminium sector, we are working very hard on that. We are in negotiation with Odisha government, but again, one has to move slightly cautiously, and all these things, time taking in the mines, getting the area, etc., takes time. So it will take a while. It's not that we are not interested, but we are interested only if there is a viability in all these projects.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor Company. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Kamlesh, can we close this con call after this call?
Hello.
Because
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Namaskar, sir, for the opportunity.
Yeah, please go.
Yes, sir. Yes, I will be very, very brief, sir. Firstly, sir, if you could give on the capex part, as आपने बताया, sir, how much has been the capex spent on the new mine, and how much is on the existing infrastructure, especially on the evacuation part, sir, and also on the report on the ESG front, sir. Where are we in midst of reducing the ESG, and also on the closure of the non-viable mines. And sir, lastly on the
you asked 3-4 questions. Taking ESG mines first, ESG report first. We have published the ESG report, and it has been uploaded about 4-5 days back. About 15th, just before 15th of October or so, it was uploaded. The second thing you asked about the closure of the mines. We had identified 23 mines. After that, 12-13 have been closed. And 4-5 mines, I had said that either these mines will take up the projects in which we will increase the production and try to reduce the losses. So 4 or 5 mines of ECL and 1 mine of SECL we have identified where the production can be increased. And 1 mine of SECL, actually it was in advanced where we are introducing this continuous miner. And in SECL, in ECL we are trying to merge these mines so that the production can increase. So we are making all efforts to reduce the losses in there. And we have whether by closing the mines we are saving money, or by upgrading the mine we are saving money. We work on that. So if there is, by upgrading the mine, we save slightly, we reduce the losses slightly higher, then in that case we are going for that. So that increases, because most of these underground mines have better coal also, which is in huge demand. The third question that you asked about the capex, I won't be right now able to give you the figure how much we have invested in mines, new mines and in railway infrastructure, evacuation infrastructure. But in general, about 30% of our total investment goes for acquiring land and rehabilitating people, and rest of the things are in different this. But I will request Mr. Vishwanathan to give those figures to you separately.
Right, sir. And sir, lastly, about this dividend part also, sir. You spoke about this earlier, that since we are receiving dividend from the subsidiaries, so the tax incidence part comes into play. So on taking dividend and buybacks, which one works out better tax efficient, sir? And on the aluminium and the solar part also, sir, you were telling that we are looking at emphasizing to look into the aluminium sector. Sir, on one hand, the government itself is looking to divest national aluminium, if my understanding is correct. So we deliberating on a new venture altogether, whether the gestation period is also high. and on one side the government coming up with disinvestment of an existing well-established player. So where is this dealing? Why Coal India pursuing it separately when the baby is itself on the block? If my understanding is correct, and our investment in the solar sector, sir, where are we? How much capex are we doing for this year, sir?
See, it will be better if you ask one question at a time.
I'll do that, sir. Firstly, on the dividend and the buyback tax incidence arbitrage part, sir, if you could.
I will request Samiran to explain.
Yeah. You see, in buyback, in fact, because of that 115 QA which was newly introduced in the last taxes, Income Tax Act, so thereby you are getting the unlisted companies also, when they are making buybacks. Previously, it is only the listed companies when making the buybacks, they were exempt from the taxes, but they are no more in the case of unlisted also. So it becomes a double taxation in the hands of my subsidiaries which are unlisted, as well as when Coal India pays out of those proceeds received from them, which has already been once taxed, are also getting taxed. So that way, in the same transaction or the amount of proceeds that we pay for buyback is double taxed. But in dividend, when we receive the dividend, we give tax, it is exempted by way of a section called 80M, that if we are paying out of the subsidiary's money, then it is not double taxed, it is taxed only once. So that way, in the same proceed, if you are making buyback, it is getting doubly taxed, and ultimately these shareholders are getting less. But through dividend route, they are getting one tax less. So that's how it actually works.
So sir, since this is an alimony and the budget is near the corner, the presentation should be made from companies having huge cash balances like ours and other PSUs also, to correct the same for the benefit of the minority shareholders. So just a small data point, September 2019, the investor base was 6 lakhs, and today the investor minority shareholders base is above 1 million. So there has been a tremendous increase in the number of investors over a period of 2 years, and the stock prices have also not performed. And on the basis of these tax anomalies, even companies eager to distribute cash are unable to do so. So if the presentation could be made to the finance department before this budget and getting this corrected.
You are right. The matter has been already highlighted in appropriate places. So yes, let's wait and see.
Yes, sir. And also on the aluminium part and the solar, if you could give more clarity. When National Aluminium is one of the company which is on the divestment block.
The question that I heard, you had mentioned that one aluminium company getting disinvested. So that's not that's only a process of further listing and for value unlocking. So that doesn't mean there cannot be other players in the fields. Particularly, suppose hypothetically also Coal India has larger cash base and more EBITDA or the margins maybe from other players. So that's all. There are always opportunities to be worked out. So that way also Coal India was looking into it. But although, as has been already mentioned, nothing serious has already gone into that.
And on the solar front, sir, what have been the capex for the first half? And
you will have solar. We are doing on the two fronts. One is installing our own solar power plants for own consumption and bidding for others. In our own consumption, we have tendered out about 175 megawatt of this. And some of the tenders have been finalized. In some cases, we have got very high prices. I won't be able to tell you how much we have finalized, but about 175 megawatt is in pipeline for our own consumption, which we are installing on spaces that we have in our coalfield area. And secondly, we have got this 100 megawatt in Gujarat, which we are likely to complete before next April. So about 450 crore rupees will be invested in that. So that way, I'm looking at about 1,000 crore rupees in investment this year in solar things.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir, for all the elaborate answer. On the ESG front, sir, what has been the feedback from the investing community? And you articulated to the investors that things would look different when you will be explaining how wrongly perception has been on the ESG front for Coal India in particular. So what is the thought process and what is the feedback after the ESG report being published, sir?
I think the feedback has been good, and in general, people are understanding that Coal India is not neglecting ESG things. See, last year we did plantation over about 840 hectares. This year we have increased to 1360 hectares. We are trying to, and this is an increase of almost 50% in single year, which never happened in the history of Coal India. Then we are doing whatever overburden dumps, etc. Are there. We are trying to stabilize them in big way by developing grasslands over that. So that will improve the environment in which we are working. Then we are investing in long way in this FMC projects, which we have requested NEERI to do this study, and they have come up that it reduces this particle burden or dust burden by about 80 to 90% in our areas of operation. So we are going a big way in this. But all these things take a while before the impacts become quite obvious to the public, because they don't read the report and they don't believe it many a times. They believe what they see. Now they are seeing that the trucks are flying on the roads and that is generating a lot of dust. Once that stops, it will definitely go in a very big way, positive way. But we are in direct communication with investors on a regular basis, and I think slowly they will understand that in our areas of operation, Coal India is a very important economic activity, is performing a very important economic activity, and in those remote and poor area, whatever we are doing is quite beneficial to the society at large.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, and all the best, sir. I hope a lot of feedback has come from investing community that would be looked into and addressed at the appropriate forum, so that investors' value can be created, sir, over a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we close Kamlesh now? Hello?
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Kamlesh Bagmar for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Agarwal, and your entire team for your valuable time and great effort which has been put up on the detailed presentation and answering the questions. And any closing remarks which you have, sir?
Closing remarks, thanks a lot for attending this con call and trying to get our point of view on all the issues. Only remark I can make in the last, that coal is not going to, the journey of coal is not going to end soon. Coal will continue as an important supply of fuel source for energy, at least for a decade and a half. There is no way we can wish away coal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.